Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm Gaetan. We're back again for another Friday, another live. We are going to discuss, break down the Congo into this, I would say, platform where we bring people in and we present to you facts. We discuss about the Congo into this Congo Unfiltered. We talk about news uh, going on regarding the Congo, regarding immigration, regarding the US, anything that touches the Congo in any way, any shape or form, we tackle that. We talk about powers because, when I say like follow the money, usually we follow the power, the powerful people or the key actors who are involved into this ongoing crisis in the Congo, 30 years happening, 30 years ongoing. And uh politics, the politics of it, because politics is really about governing the people, leading the people, how to improve their lives. And we're gonna discuss where that politics has led the country, ever since Congo exists, or was quote unquote created in 1960. So today we're gonna have for the first half Akimali. Hi, brother. How you doing? Good to have you here.
Hi, I'm doing well. Happy to be here too.
Yes, thanks for being here. We're gonna be with Akimali. He's gonna give us some updates, news directly from the Congo. And then again, I really cannot thank you enough for always jumping on and in the live and trying to give us your perspective or what you've heard, what you've seen with your own eyes, having your expertise as a journalist to like kind of like break down or tell us at least like the news, get us informed about what's going on and about the internal politics of the Congo, because we need to understand the internal politics of the Congo before having a broader perspective and understanding of how even people in the U.S. or people in Europe, in the U.K. are involved or can, affect the lives of the Congolese. So I appreciate again your time. And then later, the third portion of it, we're gonna have, like I tried to do that. We're gonna have folks in from different perspective. We'll be talking about the World Bank, a new, I'll say, deal with the DRC government. They are providing about $1 billion, and we're gonna discuss that for the Inga Dam, a dam that is capable of lighting up the entire continent of Africa. That's what experts said. And then the World Bank finally is putting money on the table, but there are many, many questions that are being raised because we're talking about a corrupt government. And like we have seen, and I will break it down, how that money or money being donated or given to Congolese government, not just this regime or even past regimes, how that money is being used. We're gonna have like an expert, hopefully can join us. But if not, we're gonna continue to talk about also the M23 because that's also the news. A really report just came out from the NBC in collaboration with Michaela Wrong. So we are going to talk about that. It's a 9-minute video. I will show that to all of you. We're gonna discuss that, and then if anyone right want to say something, anyone want to give their perspective, we also gonna provide a link for y'all to just jump in and just give your perspective. So yes, we're gonna start with you, Akilimali. Happy Friday, and I know it's late in the Congo, so like I said, I really appreciate you being there, being present with us. So I guess I will give you the floor in terms of like what has happened and within the week, 7 days that last time I saw you was last Friday. So what has happened ever since? Talk to us.
Thank you so much. I think we have so many things. The first one is that Joseph Kabila is still in Goma until now, and he's still consulting people. And one of the biggest news I can say, I don't know what will be his result, but so many people, even in the area where there is no freedom or of speech, like Goma, because it's under control of the movement of the M23. with the military soldiers of Rwanda, the RDF. Until now, all people which spoken on the microphone of some colleague journalists in Goma said to those microphone that they talked to the President Kabila that the important thing for the Congolese is to don't fuel the balkanization, and to make sure that the Congo is united. This time he made some Congolese diaspora, they call it a radical group of Congolese diaspora against Tshisekedi, and they meet them in Goma, which were led by Roger Lumbala, and they meet some women, they meet some local chief and others group which didn't which said the same speech for local people. Another information about the M23 is that until now the M23 didn't communicate, but so many journalists and independent sources are saying that as the delegation of the M23 in Doha, in Qatar, returned to Goma without any communication from the M23, from the government, or from the mediation of Qatar. And we really don't know if it's really or not. But there are some colleagues which say that they meted. They meted Benjamin Bonipa in Goma, who is the chief of the M23 delegation to the discussion of Doha with the government of Congo. This is about the M23, and on the ground there is a big fear in Pinga, an area in Walikale, because there is so many Rwandan military and M23 which are taking place to Goma, which are taking place near the area of Pinga, in that area where they spent more time, and people are really afraid about the possibility for the M23 to take that strategic city of Pinga in Walikale territory. This can be another way for the M23 to go far to Walikale and to try to reach area like Kindu or Kisangani if they want, because this we have around 60 kilometers from the road which can reach them to Alikale, and for them to go ahead. Another information, it's about the President Tshisekedi, who finally meet the President Fayulu. He called himself an elected president. In French, we say président élu. And he's, for many observers and from many reports, the winner of the election of 2018, but finally he didn't be declared as a president because of a deal between the President Kabila, the President Tshisekedi, and the President of the Electoral National Commission, which is Seni Corneille Nanga at that time. And it's those three guys who are now fighting the one with the M23 and his group, which is AFC, which is Corneille Nanga. The second one is the president, Tshisekedi, which so many persons are are saying that he were elected. He wasn't being elected as a president, but for the first time. But it was someone else, which is Martin Fayulu at that time. And we have also at least we have also Joseph Kabila, who is a former president, and they are saying that he's a founder of that deal, and it's one who didn't respect the vote of people and choose another person. And finally, they're fighting together. And the winner at that time chose to meet President Tshisekedi. And finally, they meet yesterday in the afternoon at Palais de la Nation, which is the official presidency of DRC. And they meet together. They have a discussion for an hour, and they finally say that they have they finally said that right now they have discussed, uh, uh, and they should create a group of patriots. It means a group of patriots to say that M23 and Joseph Kabila are trying to divide the Congo with what she's calling balkanization. Another information shortly is in Kasai Central, because in Kasai Central, you have to know that there is a program which were managed by the Congolese government, which were in Kasai Central, which is PLD 145 territoire, what which means the program of 145 territory rural areas in Congo, which means territories in DRC. And in Kasai Central, there is an organization which called Centre d'observation de développement, which say that until now there is no any school and any infrastructure which were provided by the government, by the PNID and other member, which is very difficult to know. And another things about environments, you said it. It's about the World Bank, which give to the Congo around 25% of the needed budget to build the what they call the Inga 3. The Inga 3, it means the bridge of Inga, which should help to with electricity some area of Congo, and others
I think we're losing Akilimali. He was talking about the construction of the Inga dam that is being built right now, and very interesting about this. And I'm going to go back because he mentioned a lot of things, and I think would be important to kind of like tackle and touch on. But that's the news. The $1 billion of development, and I mentioned that we're gonna have someone to help us, like kind of like talk about this. And Akiri Mali is back. Let me see. Yes,
yes,
go
yes.
ahead. Continue.
Thank
Don't.
you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you so much about the World Bank. This is one of the important news because you can't see it, but I'm using a solar electricity, a solar light to be in this life, because there is no electricity. Here in Kinshasa, we have a big lack of electricity, and in so many areas in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So this can be very helpful for Congolese people, and also for so many African countries, because there is so many countries which applied to be member of to be member of to use that electricity. And the last information, as I have said, the vote of the DRC, the Congo, as a non-permanent member for the next year. It means from January to December next year, and the Congo will be member of the United Nations Security Council, which it is very important for Congolese people, and it is very, very, very near
Yeah, and then just to touch on what Akilimali was saying, that the incoming and outgoing Security Council member, that was during a vote that took place this week, early this week, and it's the Congo that will take that seat at the UN as a UN not as a non-permanent member at the UNC, the United Nations Security Council. And the incoming member are Bahrain, Colombia, DRC, and Latvia and Liberia, and then the outgoing members are Algeria, Guyana, I think that's South Korea, Republic of South Korea, and then Sierra Leone and Slovenia. So there was some election, and I'm gonna have Kakil Mali go ahead. Akil Mali?
yes, and
Yeah.
so the last thing, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you
Yes,
loud and clear.
the last thing for the Congolese government is for the Congolese opinion is how it is very important and very useful for the Congo to be in that security council members. But the problem it will be how will the government will capitalize this opportunity to make sure that this opportunity will help that organization and all actors inside of the Security Council of the United Nations to solve the Congolese problem, including, and first of all, the problem of security and with attacks which are coming from M23 and the Emir of Rwanda.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. There has been some I say talks about like who voted for talking about the UN the UNC United Nations Security Council, that among the countries that did not vote for the Congo, I think the DRC had about 182 183 votes in favor. That's the country that did not vote for the Congo Brazzaville was among the countries, that African countries, that did not want to see the DRC there. What is being said? What can you tell us about that?
For Congolese, for Congolese, you have to know that the regime of Congo Brazzaville with the president Denis Sassou Nguesso is very near and very close to the government of Rwanda, and the government of Rwanda can't want the Congolese government, and it's shameful somehow because it's an opportunity for Congo to rise, and we have the same name, we are same people, we are with same language. It's only the river which the river Congo which divide the Congo Kinshasa and the Congo Brazzaville, because even here I will tell you, you could be surprised because here in Congo, when you are saying that you are Congolese in Central Africa, they have to ask you, like in Cameroon, in Chad, in Central Africa Republic, in so many areas, they asking you, are you a Congolese from Kinshasa or from Brazzaville? Because we have the same language. We are
Hmm.
also we have the same language. We have the same. We are same people. We are same people, and it's one of the mixed area because there are so many. Um, citizens of Brazzaville which are living in Kinshasa, and so many citizens of Kinshasa which are living in Brazzaville, and including family which are connected to each other.
Yes, again, Akim Ali, and I apologize, but Akim Ali is in the Congo. We all know the situation of the Congo. He's doing his best to provide us with the information that he gets on the ground with no electricity. So I'm really appreciative of him doing this. So he was talking about the fact that the DRC, well, how the DRC, as you can see, and Congo Brazzaville right next to it. Two Congos, in case you didn't know. So yes, the Congo that has been quote unquote banned or restricted, that appears on Donald Trump's travel ban, is the Congo Brazzaville and now the DRC. I know a lot of people are trying to reach out to me about this, but yeah, literally same people, same language. Um, we are only separated by the Congolese River, the Congo River, like we said. And surprisingly, at the UNC, the Congo Brazzaville did not vote in favor of of the DRC joining that. And that was pretty much kind of like wrapping up. I wanted to ask him one question, if Brother Kimali can kind of reply, come back, and one question regarding the news in the Congo, particularly how the the governmental organization in charge of regulating the press, has one literally censored Joseph Kabila, the former president. And I know we talked about this last Friday. I went ahead and even criticized it, but I will always, say things when they're not uh, correct. And I just don't think that the decision made by the Congolese government through the CESAC, through that regulates the press, to censor former President Kabila, regardless of what's going on, regardless of his affiliation or not with the M23, that to literally prevent journalists, anyone, to talk about Joseph Kabila, to prevent his political party to exist, to operate, violating their constitution, violating the rights, violating the constitution, violating the rights of the civilians, the population, to be informed. So freedom of press exists, and that is being currently, or has been, violated by preventing journalists and threatening to arrest them if they report, talk, or share information regarding Joseph Kabila or his political party PPRD. So I mean, good thing that we're on the internet, right? That you all can see this, having access to your mobile device and the internet. Otherwise, would have been censored. And good thing that I'm not in the Congo, because I would have been most likely arrested, and Friends of the Congo shut down because of us exercising our free speech. So yes, I always said Congo Unfiltered. We say, or I say things as they are. I tell the truth. But one thing that I will never do is bend in front of injustice. Injustice is wrong, and what we have seen in the Congo, what the Congolese people in Kinshasa, whether it is in Occupy Goma, Occupy Bukavu, or living, they are literally living under dictatorship. They are living under a regime or worlds where there is no justice, where the rights are not respected. And I think that's a really good segment to the big news of, I would say, uh, the day, right? It is this nice piece written by, it was NBC News, but in collaboration with Michaela Wrong. I had the honor to share the stage with her, and in the space organized by Genocast. And, shout out to Genocast folks, Congolese Action Youth Platform, campaigning for the recognition of a genocide for economic gain happening in the Congo. And she was she was the guest, right? And she was talking about her book and she's back again with this elements that I am going to share with y'all regarding the M23. I think it's very important for us to watch this and kind of like break down on what happened. Yeah, for context, we're talking about the M23, which is a Rwanda-backed militia. The M23 is or has been supported by the government of Rwanda. The government of Rwanda has been condemned by multiple international organization, including the United Nations. And we talked last Friday about the Amnesty International report on the mass killing, torture, and kidnapping that the M23 are committing, that the RDF is committing. I also mentioned about various UN reports regarding the involvement. So this piece comes back to what we have been saying, and even the title, Hidden Invasion, Rwanda's covert war in the Congo. Leaks report, satellites image, and interview reveals the extent to which the extent of what of Rwanda's shadow war in the Congo as the U.S. tries to strike a deal for peace and access to the region mineral, and then that deal, and like I mentioned, is in my opinion the reason why um, the Congo is not slapped with that travel ban. And that's just my own personal opinion. So we're gonna watch this, right? And hopefully y'all can hear the sound.
Don't joke. Move, move, quickly, 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 like the soldier.
This footage from earlier this year shows a stunning military upset in the Democratic Republic of Congo. These men are well-trained foreign military contractors hired by the Congolese government. Surrounded by news cameras, they're being rounded up and kicked out of the country by the rebel group known as M23, seen here in uniform. M23 claims to be a grassroots rebellion fighting the government to secure the rights of Eastern Congo's Tutsi ethnic minority. In early 2025, they shocked the world by capturing Eastern Congo's largest cities. But once the cameras stopped rolling, the real power backing M23's surprise advance marched in to occupy the area. These are troops from the tiny neighboring country of Rwanda, identified by intelligence sources who spoke with NBC News. We uncovered evidence showing that Rwanda has armed, trained, and commanded the M23 movement and committed thousands of its own troops to the fight. Their clandestine war has given them control over a territory with some of the world's richest deposits of rare earth minerals used in cell phones, computer chips, and batteries. It's also killed thousands and displaced millions. Despite accusations from the UN and Western governments, Rwandan President Paul Kagame has carefully and repeatedly denied any role in the conflict.
This problem was not created by Rwanda and is not Rwanda's problem. It is Congo's problem. M23 are not Rwandans.
Does Rwanda currently have any troops at all in Eastern DRC?
I don't know.
NBC News exclusively obtained 3 years of confidential intelligence reports and surveillance footage. They were given to us by military contractors hired to provide intelligence for Congolese forces. Using additional incident reports from the Rwanda Defense Forces, or RDF, satellite imagery, and interviews with combatants, we were able to piece together an account of Rwanda's secret war. For the first time, we can see how Rwanda established field bases on Congolese soil, like this base, nearly 40 miles across the border, which was used to arm, train, and command M23 allies. The leaked footage also shows how the RDF flooded eastern Congo with heavy weaponry, including guided mortars, heavy machine guns, missile launchers, and even armored air defense systems. They established a network of trenches and fortified positions for Rwandan soldiers to directly engage in the fighting. The contractors we spoke to estimated that Rwanda's deployment in eastern Congo has grown to more than 5,000 troops. A spokesperson for the Rwandan government declined to respond to our questions, but said Rwanda acts in defense of its borders and has no territorial ambitions in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Along the way, there have been cracks in Rwanda's covert war. In May 2022, Congolese forces claimed to have captured 2 Rwandan soldiers on Congolese soil. Rwanda denied this, claiming the soldiers were kidnapped across the border. But NBC obtained the Rwanda Defense Force's internal report on the incident, confirming these soldiers were captured while taking part in an M23 attack on a Congolese military barracks. The report recommends punishment for their commander, who allowed his soldiers to participate in the attack while wearing Rwandan military patches. To preserve secrecy, Rwanda began to equip M23 and their own troops with the same unidentifiable uniforms and gear, making it nearly impossible to tell them apart. To prevent the capture and identification of Rwandan weapon systems, they shuttled them back and forth across the border to Rwanda every night. The RDF removed the bodies of dead Rwandan soldiers from the battlefield, and when they couldn't, they stripped them of ID and insignia. Despite these measures, the mounting death toll is becoming increasingly difficult to hide. Using satellite imagery, we counted one by one the grave sites in this Rwandan military cemetery. Since 2021, the cemetery has grown by more than 900 graves. The largest increase occurred between late 2023 and early 2024. During this period, the Congolese military conducted a wave of drone attacks within their own borders. There were so many Rwandan casualties, they nearly lost the war. This strike from January 2024 took out an RDF base and ammunitions depot near the Congolese village of Kiwanja. The attack killed Rwandan officers who were training M23 recruits. A spokesperson for the government declined to answer our questions about Rwandan casualties, but said our reporting on their military cemetery has, quote, no basis in reality. NBC News spoke with a former member of the Rwandan military who lost friends, mentors, and family members in the conflict. Their funerals, he told us, were strictly monitored and controlled. Fearing retaliation from the government, he spoke to NBC on the condition of anonymity. He provided us with documents and corroborating sources to verify his account. To ensure his anonymity, we're reading from a transcript of his interview.
I have a family member. He's my cousin. He called me. He said the enemy is very dangerous here. He said we are very afraid. And he was shaking. You know, the voice was shaking. He died on December 31st, 2024. They bring you to the cemetery, they show you the coffin, then they bury, then you go home. After that, they follow up with the families, their conversations, if they're sharing what happened to them. They're supposed to stay silent.
For many Rwandans, grief is more powerful than fear. NBC News found and verified 91 examples of Rwandan families who defied authorities by posting funeral notices of relatives who died in eastern Congo.
When someone is dead, sometimes you have nothing left to fear. They have nothing to lose.
Nearly 4 years of conflict have taken their greatest toll on Congolese civilians. Millions have been forced to flee their homes to escape the fighting, often over and over again. And Rwandan attempts to hide their presence is only making matters worse. A leaked report from January 2024 shows how the RDF and M23 established this small fortified position, then kicked out the entire nearby village to maintain secrecy. Over the course of the war, many of the displaced found shelter in refugee camps around Goma, the region's largest city. But Goma is now occupied by M23 and Rwandan forces, and many are being displaced yet again. Satellite images show thousands of tents and temporary structures in one of these camps being completely dismantled. Western governments have known about Rwanda's involvement and have said so publicly. But still, Rwanda continues to receive international aid, and that includes military funding for its UN peacekeeping missions. Now Rwanda is at the table for US-brokered peace talks, despite never having officially admitted to taking part in the conflict.
It will also allow millions of displaced people to return to their homes, to safer communities, with new economic opportunities.
The US is promising speedy investment into eastern Congo's supplies of rare earth minerals. It's an attractive offer for President Kagame. Under the proposed deal, Rwanda would profit from this mineral investment and exit the conflict without accountability for its secret war.
Let's kickstart your wellness journey with the
All right. Well, that was 9 minutes video about that was a lot. Things that we didn't know, things that we already knew. The obvious was the Rwanda involvement. So joining me will be Bukongo, who is one of us. Is one of the coordinators at Friends of the Congo. Bukongo, how are you doing? I think you're on mute.
Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. How are you doing? How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I am good. I'm good. Did you watch the video?
Mm-hmm.
You did.
Yes. Just
Yes.
after. Mm-hmm.
So before we dive into what's your perspective, right, after watching this video, can you tell the audience about yourself? And Bukongo, I think we lost you.
I'm here.
Yeah. Can you tell the audience about yourself, but well, first who you are, and then also what you're doing at Friends of the Congo?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Bukongo. I'm Congolese. I study at the University of Chicago, where I do chemistry and biology, and yeah, and I'm Congolese as much as Kaitan is Congolese, and all that I do is to use whatever opportunity that I have to uplift Congolese voice, and that's also what led me mainly to Friends of the Congo, where I help with the intern coordinator program, and also help as well with the web with the web blog, and as well also I'm part of the a Pan-African organization, RMLA, where we do again more work for political education, to raise awareness about Pan-Africanism, the need for revolutionary Pan-Africanism, and because of the centrality of the Congo, has our forefather like Lumumba and Nkrumah or Sékou Touré have said, we always trying to center as well Congo in the conversation, and yeah, that's why I'm here today to talk about the Congo and talk about the current situation. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. And I'm really grateful for you to be here too and give your perspective. And you are from Bukavu, is that correct?
Yes.
You're from Bukavu,
Yeah.
which is another occupied territory occupied right now by the RDF slash M23. So you watch this segment, right? This video of NBC News in collaboration. Well, actually, was Michaela Wrong and NBC News that literally put together these for everyone to being able to see the reality, right? No censored, nothing hidden, no agenda behind, only the truth, and that's journalism. And trying to break down for all of us, right? To which extent the Rwanda government has been involved into this conflict from day one. Day one, before this, the fall of Goma, before the fall of Bukavu, day one, from when Rwanda has been literally aiding, right, those armed groups to take over the Congo, to control, and even to commit massacre. So you watch this video. What do you think? What came to mind, and what do you have to say about this video?
Um, from what I literally I saw from that video, I think it reminds us again that one of the things that we can do in this moment is to expose Rwanda and to expose its involvement in the conflict, because for so long, thanks to their strong propaganda and PR apparatus, Rwanda have been able to get away with its complicity in the DRC, and of course also by flanking itself as the so-called um, Pan-African hub, or the
Hmm.
fitness African countries, has even confused a lot of our people who are not only in the diaspora but also even in the continent. So those kind of that work, that the documentary is exactly to highlight that the Rwanda Defense Force have been supporting the M23 in logistics, with intelligence, with equipment, with ammunition since day one. And because literally this is what it is, we have to call it by what it is: a proxy war to exploit the Congolese minerals, and um, and and also to exploit Congolese life. And as we can see, how things are going, how the situation is going on the ground, maybe either in Bukavu or in Goma, we can literally clearly see uh, that case, and hopefully I can talk more about that. And maybe one thing I can mention, for example, is that in Bukavu there is no police force. The Congolese police force is not present in Bukavu. They after the invasion, they were taken to Goma and to Mangabo, where they're supposed to get so-called ideological training, but of course indoctrination. But what then end up happening, up until now, there's no police force in Bukavu. Who serve as the police force are Rwandan soldier, Rwandan policemen. And of course, we also have different stories from the people who escaped from those so-called ideological training, those police force who came back to Bukavu and give accounts and about what happened to them, and the level of torture and indoctrination that they are giving there, kind of highlight once more again the true nature of this conflict, which is a proxy war of exploitation. And yeah, so definitely that this documentary, from what I'm getting from it, is like, yeah, to expose to expose and to show that we have absolutely no excuse not to point to the finger to the right enemy, as well as to put pressure in any ways that we can and by any means necessary to force Rwandan troops to retreat from the Congo, just like the UN resolution asks, as well as how all the Congolese civil society are asking, as well as so all yeah the right-minded revolutionaries are asking. Yeah.
I'm on mute. So thank you for sharing. And there's something that I found really interesting about what you shared. And you said that the Rwanda police, the Rwandan army, right now is policing the streets of Bukavu. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. They're the one that's acting as the law enforcement, because the police is not there. The Congolese armed force as well are not present in Bukavu, and because they have also installed their parallel administration, it's literally occupation, under occupation.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
yeah.
Which is really, which is illegal under international law and other conflict that we've seen around the world, that illegally occupying a territory that is obviously not yours is illegal. And you from Bukavu, and you do have family in Bukavu. What's being said? Because I see a lot of, there is a lot of talks, right? And I'm not gonna lie, maybe because it's the second largest city of the country, and the very first one, when we just stay in the eastern part of the country, that people, even in reports on the news, people talk a lot, as they should, right? About Goma, about the occupation of Goma, but little to nothing is being said about Bukavu, right? So that's why I thought that, one, I would have you on here to share what your friends, your family members from back home Bukavu are saying, right? The type of reports that I broke down last week on Goma. And by the way, we're gonna host on this platform, international Amnesty International, to really guide us into the heart of the reports, what's everything that we need to know, what was behind what has been said. That we going to deconstruct, we going to uh, break down that report. But like I was saying, brother Bukongo, a lot is being said about Goma, and Bukavu tends to be forgotten, right? Bukavu tends to be forgotten about what's going on. So, what can you tell us? What are the civilians in Bukavu are going through right now, in terms of their daily life, the day to day lives, right? Like we heard from the Amnesty International in Goma how there is kidnapping happening and sometimes used as ransom. And but what about Bukavu, which is another Congolese territory that is under occupation, that is currently occupied by M23 covertly, the Rwanda Defense Force. So what can you tell us about this?
Yeah, and of course, Goma got a lot of attention because that's where the leadership of the rebels are established. Of course, not the actual leadership, which is maybe we can say in Kigali or in Washington. That's another story. But because the main figurehead of the rebels group are in Goma. But of course, Bukavu is the situation is as terrible. There's the fear and the terror among the people is as vivid as in Goma, but on a less extent, exactly because the figurehead of the rebels are not there. But what I can say, and from what comrades on the ground as well as family members tell me, is we can look at it on different level. The first level is the economic sector and how people's life have been affected economically. So the first thing to know about Bukavu is that Bukavu is highly an administrative town. So that's in a sense like the administrative sector or the third sector is the large source of employment for people. So people working like in government offices, or lawyers, or even can talk even about medical sector. So less about industry, or less about even less about mining. Bukavu is a town, and even the trade is also not very strong. So it's mainly administrative. So most of the people get their fundings or their monthly salary from those like government jobs, government offices. So when the city was taken by the M23, and the Congolese government retrieved to Uvira, which is where the entire administration of the province, because Bukavu is also the capital of the province of the South Kivu. So that's where also the governor's office usually is. So all those offices, all those high-ranking administrative government officials went to Uvira. So Bukavu is literally, so the main source of employment is not anymore supported. So people are really facing very dire conditions because of that, because they don't get their payments. And when we talk also about the economic sector, because most of the bank also are not allowed transaction to Bukavu as well, just like in Goma. It means that people who
So the Congolese government has restricted I guess the operation of banks in those territory currently under Rwandan occupation. Is that what you're saying?
exactly that's what I'm, and because of that, the people who will be getting those monthly salary from the government, they're not getting paid. So the situation getting dire. And also I talked to some comrades when, for example, when we'll be planning African Liberation Day, and you cannot even find like the dollar, because banks don't have any more currency. So the way people get to do exchange is through like a mobile transaction. But then you get some horrendous like payment fees. So just make a small transaction, even if you just want to withdraw some money, you get some tremendous payment. The exchange rate as well from Congolese franc to the dollar is also high. I think it's more than like a 3,050 if I'm not mistaken by now, which is
Wow.
really asymmetrical. But again, it makes sense because the people who do those exchange also trying to get something from it because they cannot rely on more on the bank as well. So because of that, the prices of food as also and other commodities are very high. So that make really the situation very difficult for family as well also from local Congolese people, not taking us into consideration just the constant state of fear where people cannot gather to even young people cannot easily gather together just even to have a small meeting because of that fear that they're gonna be looked as, oh, you are conspiring something. And but what some comrade told me is that the rebels haven't said anything explicitly around preventing people from gathering. So
Okay.
explicitly and through official channels, they haven't said anything about that. But again, it's just the atmosphere of terror and fear, just like we are seeing in Goma. The rebels may say something on their official channels, but at night people are being terrorized. At night people are being abducted. So that has been some of the fear that people have been mentioning, telling me, and also one of the other elements that has been most of that should be also of outrage is on the education, the impact of this occupation on the education. One thing that I want to mention is that now is the periods where people who are Congolese students are doing the national exam test to
Yeah.
finish high school as well as to finish primary school, and you just have to imagine in what state of mind people have to go through to to do their exam, where at night people usually study at night. You're gonna be listening to sounds of bullets or bombings, or just having that fear of that you don't know if you're gonna do the following exam, or even parents as well to know that they're gonna send their children to school not knowing whether or not the children are gonna come back. So there is really that level of trauma that I think is not talked about a lot. And some of my family who are doing like this exam really taught me about how it's just disruptive. You just can't concentrate when you have to live under this occupation, when you have to live at war. You just can't. And the exam is already enough pressure. I remember every time, like even when just a small anecdote, every time with this final exam, people get just because it's very it's a little bit expensive for some schools, and people really, and it's for most of the people, it's the only diploma that someone will get from like from school,
Mhm.
is the possibility for someone to get a job. So there is a lot of pressure, a lot of uh, like determination for people to do well at this exam. But then when you are under occupation, everything is just disrupted. Even at university, where people don't necessarily have to go there, people have to cancel classes. Some university are trying to adapt with doing online classes, but even with the online things get complicated because to get connection, you're gonna have to make some transaction to pay with the internet. So really, the situation is really is very complicated in that sense. I think I talked on a lot of
Yeah. No,
reason.
no, no. You good. And just really something that I need to correct because I misspoke when I was talking about the Amnesty International report. The Amnesty International report that we are going to break down on June 20th, 2025, uh, talks about both Goma and Bukavu. I misspoke. My apologies. It does talk about the M23 killing, torturing, and holding civilians hostage in both cities. Um, so, but yeah, I think some of the thing that you said at the beginning, Brother Bukongo, is that you said that the Rwandan government has established parallel government. That's the term that you use, and I think we saw the same thing or the same language or phrase in the UN latest report. Not maybe latest, the one before that. So it would must have been June of last year. They talk about the parallel government in that was mostly in Rubaya, right? Because they had to Rubaya, which is one of the number one mining region with rich in coltan, right? Like when we talking about exploiting coltan, Rubaya is the number one city for that. The mining Rubaya is the number one, and but you said that they're doing the exact same thing in Bukavu as well. Can you explain?
Mhm. Exactly, because with this, with the way they are masquerading and hiding their so-called invasion is by saying that, oh, they're liberating the area. But what we are saying is that once they come to a place, because the Congolese government just gonna retrieve, like as I told you, the Bukavu is which is the city where usually is the not only the mayor of the city but also the governor, so the provincial. Parliament is also in Bukavu, and all the even the highest, like some military official in the region are also in Bukavu. So when the rebel came, all of those that apparatus moved to Uvira. Of course, they again we need to hold also the Congolese government this like this criticism, because even the governor is not does not stay in Uvira. He stays in Burundi and come. It just last a couple of days ago where he went to Uvira just for a speech, and then he went back to Burundi. So even the Congolese government is not even some of the highest officials are not even in Uvira. So now that the city is literally governless, like there's no state power. When the rebels come and with this their rhetoric of liberating, they're installing another governor, different other administrator to kind of to keep things running. But as we all know, these are illegitimate bodies. They are not they're not elected by the people whatsoever, and they're not also they're not even recognized, as you said, by international standards as well. And just as a way to put most of the time to put Congolese faces behind the invasion, to trying to put Congolese faces into those positions and some of them are outright Rwandan citizen or Rwanda affiliate who are in those positions, again to hide at the face of the international community and the African community the true nature of this war, which is a war of exploitation and genocide for economic benefit, nothing less, and they're just masquerading it as a revolution. So that's some of the thing about that parallel government administration that is being put in Bukavu, and I'm not very sure of the detail, but I know that the governor, the appointed governor in Bukavu, the one who was appointed by the rebel, was just changed like a couple of days ago. I don't have enough detail about that, but that's again something that I keep in mind to highlight again how illegitimate this entity is and how they just can permit and change whoever they put in charge. But we know that again they are being directed. They are a proxy force that are being directed by imperialist entity in Africa. But yeah.
And this report, because we talking about this like NBC News, right? I think this is huge because make it wrong, and as I mentioned, she has been really brave for years, speaking against Kagame's regime, pointing that the person, like you said it yourself, brother Bukongo, with that people have been trying to portray Paul Kagame as this Pan African person, right? This person that stands for peace. And he has a really, and I have to say this, a really great PR team. Because how do you convince people that this man is the man is the president of the country that you would like to go and perform? To convince Dave Chappelle that I need to go and visit this man's country, shake his hands, convince John Legend that he can come and sing over the graves of Congolese and Rwandan people, right? Because Rwandan people are as victim as the Congolese people themselves, because he does kill people. He has been known for extrajudicial killings, literally tracking his own citizen outside of Rwanda in South Africa. The U.S. ambassador of South Africa, the not a U.S. ambassador, what I'm saying, the Rwanda ambassador back then, and he also happened to be for a few years before being kicked out. I'm talking about Vincent Karega. He was in South Africa in 2014 when, you know, Rwandan folks from the opposition party, like I think one guy from the Rwandan opposition was actually assassinated, and that was something that was planned and executed by diplomats, Rwandan diplomats, and he literally got kicked out of South Africa because of that. So we're talking about people who do not care about borders. They will come cross borders and silence you if they can, right? And so we have seen this guy being able to bring all these stars, and even Amnesty International talked about that petition with the NBA. How come the NBA is able to do events in Kigali, signing contracts with the government? Excuse me, how they're able to do that? Because the State Department tells them that, oh, you know what, it's okay to deal with, you know, with Rwanda, right? Because that's the official version. If the State Department says it's okay, then it's okay. Then, you know, or the Formula One, they are able to do also events in Rwanda, and then you have I don't know the name of the events, but it's around, like, you know, kind of like a version of Tour de France with cyclists, bicycle competition or whatever, and doing that in Rwanda as well. And you talked about in this still Pan African spirit, the National Society of Black Engineers. They're gonna have the very first Pan African conference in Kigali this fall, right? How do you, how do you get to convince all of these people, all of these bodies, all of these people who are not ignorant? They literally have access to internet, literally, but how can they still be convinced that Paul Kagame is the move, Kigali is the move, without ever saying a word on the war crime, the crime against humanity, and the genocide that he has been committed? And to me, that's the courage of Michael Wrong writing about Congo, writing about Rwanda, writing about Paul Kagame, and doing this. She's done that in many news outlet. I remember the 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 article that she wrote early this year on the Guardian. It was the exact same thing. Not sure if I can find it, but it's to me it's crazy, right? It's crazy how people can write over and over again, scream, and still no justice. We can literally collect bodies of folks on the street, and there is still nothing being done, right? And you mentioned about the resolution 2773. That is really clear about what is happening in the Congo and what is required of Rwanda to do. Yet nothing
Mhm.
for Congo.
Yeah, exactly. It's really outrageous. But again, once when we look at the bigger picture and connect that to to imperialism, we understand exactly how why is it so. And now, what I'm thinking now is with the soon to be signed critical mineral deal, as well as the so-called peace agreement that's gonna be signed. That's gonna be literally the thing to legitimize. And again, we need to, and this is more a call for people who, again, who are lover of justice, Pan-Africanists, and true people who love Africa, to be really wary of that and very careful about that, because what he's gonna do basically is gonna legitimize random access to Congolese minerals, which gonna literally prevent make it hard for us again to still continue on this land that Rwanda is exploiting illegally the resources in the Congo, because we have already seen, as you mentioned, the Rwandan government has a solid PR and propaganda apparatus, because most of their main sector, their one of their prominent sector, in addition to the minerals, of course, to the mining, which they don't even have, is tourism. and how that tourism works. You need to sell a certain image, and they really invest a lot with the support, of course, of the Qataris as well, and through whatever through the sponsorship that they give to European football club and other teams. And even the past month, they signed another sponsorship with Atletico Madrid, another big one. I think the third biggest team in
Yes.
Spain. And they have the partnership with Paris Saint-Germain. We just won the Champions League again. You can see how this all the resources that they put into play to make their images. And with the lack of organization, because this is the lack of organization that lead to the formation, lack of organization from the Congolese side, as well as from the Pan-African side, which leads the which give the possibility for those kind of deals and those kind of so-called peace agreement that's gonna be signed, and they're gonna literally legitimize and remove us and make us unable to keep like pointing the finger at Rwanda. But of course, we know that you can, as I think Kwame Ture was saying, that you only need one piece of justice to smash 1,000 of lies. And so we know that we know that truth will always prevail. We know that we are standing for the truth. And we know that we are standing for justice. But we need to be wary, because those tactics, this is the tactic that our enemy is doing, which shows that there's still there's a long way a long way to go to, because we're gonna have to dismantle and expose all those propaganda machinery, and to make those people who sponsor Rwanda understand not only the moral, the immorality of that act, but as well trying to make them in a way unaffordable for them to continue that, because that's also the point of organization. That's what we have to, because that's what I'm thinking. It's more like what needs to be done is that level to increase our level of organization, to not only exposing is good. We need to do more exposing, definitely, because the propaganda machinery is strong, but we also have to put a little bit more pressure on Rwanda to make them, to all those companies, to all those football team, to all those NBA team, all those singers who still continue to look at Rwanda as a sort of like African hub, to make it seem unaffordable to them to continue partnering with Rwanda. And we need also, I think, one of the thing that we still have to do, and that's also the mistake that the Congolese government is doing enough, is getting more getting the African countries on our side, because most of the African countries are neo-colonialists. You have all puppets over there, so all of them are on the side of Rwanda. All of them believe in Rwandan's rhetoric. We've seen what Thabo Mbeki, who was the former president of South Africa, will be saying when he is referring to the conflict. So this is just one more to remind us also that we need to do more organizing, to rally also African, because that to put us more, so that the African country can also put the pressure on Rwanda, because it's a strong.
But back to what's the obvious, right? Like, because when you read, for example, this report, it is not a report, a resolution, the UN security resolution. And what I'm going to say is going to be very, very important. This resolution 2773 of February 21st, 2025 was voted 15-0. Like, you had France agreeing with this resolution, you had the United States, you had the UK, you had China, you had Russia, you had France, you had all these major countries right now with, the all the five permanent members, and then the 10 non-permanent members, all agreeing and voting and saying, excuse me, saying essentially strongly condemn the ongoing offensive and advances of the M23 in the North Kivu and South Kivu with the support of the Rwanda Defense Force. their control of the city of Goma, the capture of the airport, and the main entries of Goma on January 28th and of Bukavu on February 14th, 2025. Unanimously, like all of them, they decided that the M23 shall immediately cease hostilities, withdraw from Goma, Bukavu, and all control areas, including a lake route, and fully reverse the establishment of illegitimate parallel administrations in the DRC territory, and that this withdrawal shall not be impeded. You talked about the parallel administration. 15 nations at the United Nations Security Council agreed, all of them, that the M23 should reverse that establishment. And I think the point that was very, very, very important, but before I go to this point three reiterates its urgent call for all parties to conclude an immediate and unconditional ceasefire as called by the EAC, the Eastern African Community, and the SADC, South African, I forgot what the D stand for, the SADC heads of states, uh, South African, South, well, anyways, SADC, I forgot. I think it's
Development.
Communauté de Développement, Communauté des
Yeah.
South African Development Community, I think that's what it stands for, heads of states welcomes the DRC statement calling for its immediate implementation support efforts by the AUPSC and ESC SADC to this, including by taking into account the situation in Bukavu, calls for them to work closely with MONUSCO. Then the MONUSCO is the United Nations mission in the Congo regarding ceasefire implementation, and stands ready to consider a possible role for MONUSCO in the implementation and monitoring upon finalizing of a ceasefire agreement. And then I think the most important piece right there is point four, calls on the Rwanda Defense Force to cease support to the M23 and immediately withdraw from the DRC territory without preconditions. Because for the past 30 years, Paul Kagame has managed to tell the world, to tell his backers, to tell those who fund him, to tell those who put him in power, those who gave him the reign of the region, that the reason why he's violating international law, that the reason why is slaughtering civilians in the Congo, the reason why he's displacing millions in the Congo, the reason why his soldiers, or like the president of South Africa said, his militia, because the RDF is a militia, raping people, raping women, enslaving children, and also literally torturing people, kidnapping them. The reason why he's doing that is because he wants to get rid of the FDLR. But this resolution, brother, and to people watching this, says that it calls on the RDF to cease support to the M23 and immediately withdraw from DRC territory without preconditions. That to me is all I need to hear. And the question that I have for those who lead the world, the question that I have for those who are at the White House right now, those who are at the European Parliament today, is why they're not implementing what they voted on, right? Why the United States today has to draft a deal, a mineral deal for peace, and reward Rwanda, accused multiple times, even by the United States Department, the U.S. Department of State itself, of committing those atrocities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have the Child Soldier Prevention Act, which is literally bearing any military support to countries that is involved and implicated in child trafficking. The M23 uses children as soldiers, and the Rwanda is funding them, is supporting them providing them like we saw in this really huge element by Mikai Wrong and NBC, provide not just money but also boots on the ground. So therefore, Rwanda is directly involved in child trafficking, using children as soldiers. That's why that's why the United States paused their aid, the military aid assistance to Rwanda in 2023, right? But why do we have to come back at the table and say, you know what, I'm gonna discuss with Rwanda, Congo, you're gonna need to talk to Rwanda, and by the way, the minerals that we're gonna get from the Congo, they're gonna get processed in Rwanda, and then everyone will be happy. Bukongo, why? Why do you think that?
And I think that's a very good puzzling question, because we have to. It's even asked us to, like, what more do we need? Do we need, because we have such a strong and one of the strongest UN resolution that we can get. But again, what is missing is how to implement it. What are the body that are gonna carry that implementation? Is there any sort of willingness from the imperialist country, the US, France, and all those other countries which benefit from using Rwanda as a proxy force in the Congo? Are they willing? Is it a moment for them? Like, is there any pressure in their base, like, to actually implement that? I think that's these are the this is where we can find the answer to that question. If how much pressure is there in those individual countries to actually sever the tie with Rwanda? Of course, there is still some officials, I know, some who may raise their concern about the mineral deal, for example, that the EU does with Rwanda. But again, it's again the mass of the people who must organize, and it gets also it's also a highlight again that it's, I think, the contradiction that we find in the Congolese government, which is not able to carry out more efficiently, is also on the ground, and to put a sufficient leverage, because a resolution is really good. It's good, like, for diplomacy. Now, definitely, Rwanda, it's impossible. Rwanda cannot anymore sell its lie on diplomatic, on diplomatic sphere, but on the ground, they still have the leverage. The Congolese government does not have any, and the Congolese government, nor the African Union, nor the SADC, which has just retrieved and withdraw its troops from the Congo, does not have any pressure to give on Rwanda, because again, having a resolution is really great, but unless we have a sort of mechanism to implement that, it's not gonna be followed. And because the Congolese government and the African Union and the SADC does not have put that pressure on Rwanda, they simply do not see any risk to, like, they still do not see the pressure to actually follow out that resolution. So definitely what is missing and what must be done is to put direct pressure on Rwanda, from the African Union, from the SADC, and from the Congolese side, an actual direct pressure on the ground to get Rwanda to get out of the Congo, because we have done the sufficient work diplomatically. Now it's time to do that on the ground. But of course, the responsibility is still also on those imperialist countries which benefit from those minerals from Rwanda, because they have economic leverage on Rwanda. We have seen when the Canadian government or impose sanction, and
Even the U.S. imposed sanction on Rwanda. You talk about 2012, I believe. Yeah.
exactly, even the United States imposing direct on Rwandan official. That again was this is some development that we haven't seen in years, where Rwandan officials are being called out for what they are actually doing. So definitely, the way I look at it is, just like in every process, is that there is always quantitative and qualitative change. So the quantitative change that we can see is that we see this development that we haven't seen in years before, but we still need that. We're still missing that qualitative change that's going to actually transform the situation on the ground for the Congolese people who have to go through this. And I guess I gave the example of the children who have to go to school and have to go through to the state examination. There's some comrades also on the ground gave me the information about people in Katana where they were doing their exam, and that's when the fighting broke out between the M23 and the Wazalendo militia. So we can see that we need that qualitative change that's going to transform the condition of people on the ground. But what that qualitative change, those imperialist countries must put that economic pressure on Rwanda to stop those investments and those aid, because Rwanda relies solidly on foreign aid, but also on tourism, because these are the other way we can put pressure on that tourism. But again, and the most important one is the situation is on the ground. Rwanda must be pressured by the Congolese, from the Congolese
Facts.
side, from the African Union, and for the SADC militarily, because that is the only way they will seem to understand. Because beside that, we're gonna keep having more UN resolution. We're gonna keep having more declaration and statement, even from the United States. We may even start having statement from Rwandan official condemning the M23, while they are the one. There was something like that happened with one of the meeting at the I think it's the ICRG. I forgot very well the institution, the international body from the region that they had the meeting, and we see Rwanda now putting out statement against M23 advance. When you look at all of that, you can see the absurdity of that. But what that highlight that again, we are missing that direct pressure that's gonna make the Rwandan retrieve and withdraw their support from the M23 and all their troops from the Congo, so we can actually have a peace. Because also we also have to think in terms of when Rwanda or when the M23 are being removed. What if the Congolese government is not properly organized enough? They're gonna stay. There will be a vacuum over there. A vacuum we can say
Right.
the MONUSCO has the resolution is mentioning that the MONUSCO will carry out that vacuum, but the MONUSCO have been there for how many years? For 3 decades now. I mean, first as MONUC and then MONUSCO. We can see that already as 3 decades. And why they haven't left? Because the Congolese government that has not been properly organized to take proper control of the place where the MONUSCO is not there, and to do the work that MONUSCO is supposed to do, and even more. So this is the thing that are seriously missing, and that's why we can have that strong resolution where, again, on diplomatic terms, no random propaganda, because again, it's all
And
Security Council who signed that. Even the United States, who have just vetoed a clear and unconditional ceasefire resolution to stop the war in Gaza at the moment. Even the U.S. did not veto that. But again, we need to keep that in mind, and to see and to keep also in our in light also the peace agreement and the critical mineral deal that are being drafted in Washington, because these are the things that are that as we see this progression, unless there is this direct pressure onto Rwanda, yeah, that can lead to more
and
consequences.
Brother Bukongo, again, and for those who are joining us, thank you so much for joining us. You tuning in on our different platform to this again one more episode of Congo Unfiltered News, Powers and Politics, and today we're discussing the M23 and then the recent, I would say, discovery or piece put out by Michaela Wrong and the NBC news. We'll be discussing later the second part about the World Bank investment and really the United Nations and funding involvement in the Congo. But back to this conversation, brother Bukongo. There is something because, like I mentioned, there has been for the past almost 30 years the same over and over reasons or conditions that the Paul Kagame has been placing into why he's in the Congo, right? Or why M23 even exists, and that's something that we read uh, uh, in this new report that Rwanda President Paul Kagame has carefully and repeatedly denied any role in the conflict, despite accusation from the United Nations and Western governments. And that's him talking. And I quote, "Why are we being accused as Rwanda of supporting M23?" He asked at an April 2024 press conference commemorating the 30th anniversary of the Rwandan genocide. I quote, They exist because they have been denied the rights as citizen. And that M23 Kagame maintains his homegrown Congolese is a homegrown Congolese rebel movement fighting for the rights of the country's threatened let me see threatened M23 Kagame's maintains is a homegrown Congolese rebel movement fighting for the rights of the country's threatened Tutsi minority, and he's actually talking about the FDLR. It has it's as if they agree with the injustice that is being done to this community, he said of Rwanda's accusers. So he has been talking about the FDLR over and over again, right? And I was able to really like go to this, and that's a really old report, the United Nations report from 2012. Because again, M23 it's a long story, and I think at Friends of the Congo, we're working right now on trying to provide y'all with the information, not just about what's going on in the Congo, but really break down and dive into the core of the issue about the M23, about the journey of M23. How do we get to M23 2025 versions? What about the M23 2012 version? Well, the same actors are essentially the same, right? Like we have Colonel Sultani Makenga, and that was in 2012. And in this report, the S slash 2012 slash 843 UN report, United Nations report from the UN group of experts, kind of like gave sort of like a biography of who the Colin Sultan Makenga is, the same guy that is leading the force, the M23 force today, right? And it says there, ethnic Tutsi born in Nyanzale, Huchuru territory on 25th December 1973. Grew up in Pati, Masisi territory. And and guys, like sometimes when you look at the patterns of someone, like you need to ask yourself some questions. And his military career is really interesting. In 1992, 1993, he joined the RPA of Paul Kagame. Literally, this guy that is saying to be Congolese, and he was appointed colonel by Joseph Kabila at the time as part of this accord, a peace accords to reintegrate, recycle rebels into include them, integrate them in the Congolese army. He was placed as the colonel of the Congolese army. But he says that he's Congolese, born in at least that's what we read by from this UN report. But he fought alongside Paul Kagame in 1992, 1993. That was about 32 to 33 years ago. And in 1996, during the first Rwanda invasion of the Congo, like the Friends of the Congo we have been talking about, the very first Congo invasion, this guy was part of that invasion. He was he was a military at the AFDL, Alliance des Forces Démocratiques pour la Libération du Congo, AFDL, led by Laurent Désiré Kabila, the father, deceased father or murdered father of former President Joseph Kabila. In 1996, Makenga joined a Rwanda-backed militia after fighting for years alongside Paul Kagame. Then in 1997, when Laurent Désiré Kabila, and I did mention that last week, when he decided to send back all Rwandan people back to the country, like the military, and say, hey, go back to your country. Thank you for your service. Thank you for helping me get to power. Now it's my time to lead as a Congolese. Y'all can go home. Well, he rebelled. He was like, no, how dare you ask Rwandan military or soldiers to go back to Rwanda? So he rebelled and he was arrested by the Republican Guard, right? By the government, the Congolese government, by Laurent Désiré Kabila. And then, because of the negotiation that was happening, because there was a second Congo invasion of 1998 of the RCD, which is another Rwanda-backed militia, and we discussed that last week when when I presented to y'all the folks that were sitting to next to Joseph Kabila himself, right? That there was a peace talk after that, trying to figure out what was going on, what was going to happen. So he ended up being released, and he joined the RCD when he was released. As soon as he was released, and when he joined the RCD, a Rwandan-backed militia, he was promoted major. Then, after the war, after the Sun City Accord, Sun City is a city in South Africa. South Africa has been involved from day one in Congolese affairs, and it's not just about politics, and even in terms of struggle, South Africa has been always on the side of the Congolese people in that matter. So there was a peace accord happening in Sun City, gathering all the Congolese actors and even those with uh weird nationality, I would say citizenship. They're all in that room and they signed that peace accord. And you had RCD that controlled the east, just like we've seen today, with Goma and Bukavu and the Kivu region. And Bukongo, please correct me if I'm wrong. And then you had the MLC, which was backed by Uganda, because we people tend to forget about Uganda, but Uganda was also involved into the mass killing, into the war crimes, into the crimes against humanity. As a matter of fact, they were ordered to pay over $300 million to the DRC because they were committing war crimes during the 6 Day War, and that we have been celebrating, that we have been commemorating. I think today is the second day of Congolese people celebrating, commemorating 25 years of that. And I'll have Bukongo maybe speak in details about what that 6 Day War was. But Uganda was also involved. So you have Uganda backed militia at the table, Rwanda backed militia at the table. They met 2003. You have this never seen before. It only happened in Congo. One president and four vice president. You have folks from armed groups that I mentioned. You have folks from the opposition. You have folks from the government. One president, four vice president, and three of them were actually like former rebel groups, rebels, leaders. So after that accord, he joined the Congolese force that was supposed to integrate even those who committed atrocities. Because don't get me wrong, AFDL is accused, alongside with Rwanda group, Rwanda army, of committing mass atrocities in the Congo. We have talked about this in our platform so many times. You know, how the Hutus were tracked by Paul Kagame's all the way to the Congolese forest, all the way to refugee camps, all the way to Central African Republic, all the way to Congo Brazzaville, and they were killed. And some folks are even talking about this counter genocide, because how do you explain decimating entire refugee camps, right? The RCD did the same, also committed war crimes. But because of the accord, because of what we've been told by those who control the world, hey, you need to sit down, discuss, even though they wouldn't discuss, or being okay having terrorist groups managing some part of the country. But we are asked, Congolese have been asked from day one to sit down and negotiate with those who killed the parents, with those who killed the mom, raped the mom, and all of that. So it is in that context that this guy is going to join the newly created Congolese Army, FRDC, Forces Armées de la République démocratique du Congo. And in 2006, when the Congolese government, led by Joseph Kabila, the former president, tried to redeploy the dude outside of the Kivus, because he realized that these people, whenever they get upset, because they're backed by Rwanda, they easily take weapons and then they start another rebel movement. So what if I take them out of that comfort zone, in places where they don't know, in places where they cannot directly have tie or communicate with the backers, and see what that will be? Well, Makenga refused. He literally refused to be redeployed outside of the Kivus. He wanted to stay in the Kivu. And to be fair, because it's Congo Unfiltered, officially, people close to him said that he did not want to leave his people. Like he wanted to stay in the Kivu because he wanted to make sure that his people, the Tutsis people, were safe. That's his argument. Okay. So 2007, he took part finally in the mixes process and became Bravo Brigade commander, still in the Kivu region, obviously. So and then 2007, 2008, he deserted FRDC and joined the CNDP, which is another roundabout militia and an iteration of the RCD. So you have the AFDL, then you have the RCD, then the CNDP. And in 2009, joined back the FRDC into another accord with the CNDP. It was an accord that was signed, and then on 17 February 2009, he was named deputy commander in charge of intelligence operation for Kimia 2 operation in South Kivu. So the thing that is very important that I'm about to say is what happened on May 12th. He refused to be part of an operation against the FDLR in the South Kivu. That's not me saying that. That's the United Nations saying that. In the report, 843 report from 2012, look it up. He refused and stopped attending FRDC meetings. So that's something that I cannot comprehend. Like I cannot understand. And Bukongo, tell me if I'm being crazy. So you said that your people are being killed, and you said that you have the right to defend yourself. And I'm talking about you in terms of the run governments. You have the right to defend yourself, and the people taking weapons as well, because they say that Congolese that they are protecting their own people because they have the right to exist, because they are being killed by this genocidaire FDLR, which, by the way, actually includes some members, full members, were part of the Intiramwe. I'm going to be honest with that. But we're in 2025 today, right? And not only we in 2025, but the FDLR was created in 2002, years after the genocide. But that's fine. Let's just stay into their way of thinking. That the FDLR are indeed genocidaire and they are indeed wanting to kill Tutsis. Bless you. They want to kill the Tutsis. Let's just stay with that idea, right? Then why would you refuse to be part of an operation that will neutralize them? Unless you are complacent, you are okay with this organization, you are okay that this organization exists so that you can justify why you take weapons and kill and rape and plunder the country.
Mm-hmm.
It was in 2012. And we tend to forget about the justice components whenever we talk about justice, whenever we talk about accord, whenever we talk about deal, we put outside the term justice, which allowed this guy to come back as an FRDC military officers every single time, take weapons every single time that he doesn't agree with anything. And fast forward, we in 2025, and now he's still leading the military branch of the M23.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like,
Exactly.
I don't get it. So Bukongo, yes, go ahead.
No, exactly. I think that's a really good reminder that when we remove the element of justice, those individuals can be easily recycled. But we see that I think there is this saying that chasser le naturel revient au galop. You cannot if you remove the natural, it's gonna come back. So that's why you can you can see that despite being still recycled through the Congolese army, they ended up turning again back against the Congo. But what you did mention, it's really a good reminder of us, because as you said, Rwanda has been using that motive of say fighting about the FDLR and security concern. That term of security concern that you even find in the declaration of principle that was signed. That this is one of the things that Rwanda has been has been hiding behind that. And we see also what the U.S. senators have been saying, that Rwanda is afraid for its security because they have a high tourism. Or again, I'm connecting back again to the idea of tourism. But coming back to this question of the FDLR, the question then becomes, okay, if these are main security concern, why individual like Makenga will refuse to fight against them? While, and again, even when we look at, of course, realistically, FDLR is not a force that can be of any security concern. Moreover, it's more a security concern from the Congo than from Rwanda. But what it can, one parallel that I was thinking about as you're talking just connects me to see how even the US for years will be slashing about ISIS and Al Qaeda, but when you can see how they can easily shake the hands of former ISIS members and former ISIS commander in Syria, or you can even see
brother. Let's stay in the Congo. You know what I'm saying? It's rough to talk U.S. politics right now as immigrants. So let's stay in the Congo, brother.
Exactly, but what that highlight again is for us to
Mhm.
be able to look at what is the real reason that that Rwanda is being in the Congo. This is just
Mm.
a facade that they are putting, because we can easily debunk that. We can easily debunk that with a report from 2012, when we can and again, as you said, with the UN reports, where we can see clearly that. That's now we are asked. Rwanda is being asked to withdraw from Congo without any preconditions, because all
And
the countries
and,
under.
and what? And one more thing, right? Because we're still talking about the FDLR, right?
Mhm.
So we were in 2012, and I show what this person did, who he is, right, and how he's relevant today. And this report was from 2012, right? This one over here is almost 10 years later, right? Decades later, you have this guy, you have the United Nations, same body, same international body, the group of experts. They provide this report. It's the report S bar 2023 bar slash 990, that the FDLR combatant in the DRC, they were never acting independently. Maybe saying never will be too much. They were not acting independently. They were receiving direct orders from the Rwanda Defense Force. That's not me saying that. That's the United Nations expert, the UN, that says, paragraph 30, according to former M23 combatants and intelligence sources, since early October 2023, RDF soldiers from 5 different battalions were deployed in Nyiragongo, Ruchuru, and Masisi territories, currently under occupied under occupation. RDF and M23 were supported by several combat support and reconnaissance teams, totaling to 250 former FDLR combatants and operating under the commands of the Rwanda Defense Intelligence Department, DID. So you have FDLR that is threatening the lives of Tutsis. That's what we've been told for the past 30 years. Threatening, the existence of Rwanda. Therefore, Paul Kagame thinks that Rwanda has a right to exist, and they should. They do. But they also have the right to fight against the FDLR. That's why they can invade the Congo illegally, violating international law. But then, when these forces are being neutralized, when these forces, these elements are being captured and being sent back to Rwanda so that they could be judged, because they're like, we don't care. Like, Congolese people don't care about FDLR. They are Rwandan citizens, right? They have a beef with Rwandan people. They do kill Congolese civilians as well, right? But they are Rwandan citizens first and foremost. So when they're being neutralized, when they're being captured, they're being sent back to Rwanda, handed over to the Rwandan government. What does the Rwandan government do? Recycle those forces and send them back in the Congo for reconnaissance, for like to scout the area, because obviously they've been here for over 10 years. Again, that's not me saying that. bruh. Eyewitnesses, an RDF officer and diplomatic source informed the group that several dozen RDF members were wounded and killed following an armed group ambush in Virunga National Park and the bombing of RDF positions by FRDC in the Nyiragongo territory. The wounded and killed were evacuated by roads to Rwanda. But the key elements here that you have FDLR members or combatants receiving direct orders from the Rwanda Defense Intelligence Department, DID. So you have Sultani Makenga, who left the Congolese army and refusing to participate in a military operation against the FDLR, taking direct orders from, and that was at the time, right? He was taking direct orders from James Kabarebe, and that's still not me saying that. That was the same report if you continue to read, especially the annex and stuff. From James Kabarebe, the actual Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of international cooperation, currently under the U.S. sanction, accused by, accused by many, right? Accused by the United Nations, accused. There was actually an arrest warrant against him of committing war crimes and crimes against humanity in the Congo. So he's under sanctions right now by the United States. So you have this person, Sultani Makenga, receiving order from James Kabarebe, who served as the AFDL Army Chief of Staff of the Congolese government, even though he was Rwandan citizen. And a decade later, you find out, or we find out, the FDLR combatants were receiving direct orders from the RDF. And yet today, Sultani Makenga is still leading the M23. And then there are still, the M23 is still claiming that it's fighting the FDLR and protecting the Tutsi people. So, and we still have, even in the deal that we've seen in the US, we still have to sit down and discuss with them when we now know that the game was rigged from the start. You are going to negotiate, you're going to try to solve a problem when the people that you're trying to discuss with are actually fueling it. Bukongo.
Exactly. That's. I think this really, again, I like this contradiction. How you say even the FDLR that taken, because we have seen that's how on the Congolese side there has always been a willingness to, okay, yes, we don't agree with this deal. Let's help you to fight against the FDLR. So we fight the FDLR, but again they are recycled again to show again that in all the cases the principal motive remains, and that's what is driving Rwanda. And that's the more those contradictions are being exposed, we are more. It's become less and less difficult to go away from the truth that Rwanda is exploiting the mineral resources from the Congo, and they use both the M23 and all the variation of M23 and both the FDLR as well to use their to use that, because again these are the practice that imperialist country always do. These are the practice of imperialism that again as I was saying earlier, and again this should even show us that what's more that does the international community. That's why, and again I appreciate you mentioned that that peace agreement that's gonna be signed, because again he may point again those so-called security concern, and as long as we have that, sorry, what I wanted to say is that we do have those kind of this sort of rhetoric come back because we are missing that element of justice. Justice is what is really missing whenever we're talking about changing the situation in the Congo. As you did mention, there's a bunch of deals, a lot of accords that are being made, but we don't have justice. Justice to like in a sense of to hold accountable people who were responsible for crimes, as well as justice to give reparation to people who are being affected. Because those mechanisms haven't been in place, all those deals can easily be recycled over and over and over and over. And individuals like Paul Kagame can keep talking about the FDLR well, as you said, it's a force that is countless reports show that it has been neutralized, that it does not it's not any threat whatsoever to Rwandans or even to the Rwandan regime. And even if they wanted to do anything to the Rwandan regime, they cannot do that. So again, Rwanda will always continue using that rhetoric to justify its aggression in the Congo. So that's again another reminder that we need to keep exposing those truths, because as I said, quoting again Kwame Ture, that one piece of truth will smash a thousand lies. So definitely, and and every time I see mentioning of that in any accord, any agreement that, and I'm mentioning about FDLR of the security council, I'm like, no, this is not anything. It's just about. And again, what also the issue that this raises when we talk also about the discourse about the Congo is this idea of both sidism, in the sense of saying, okay, both the DRC Congo support the FDLR and their venture to Rwanda, so Rwanda has a justification, and then whenever those agreements come with those both sidism, it does not lead anywhere. There's no justice in there. The truth is not in there, but exposing them with those kind of documents, with all the report that has been have been produced, is exactly to put forth the truth, so that Congolese people can finally have justice, and that's Rwandan and all the imperialist country will not have any ways to to justify the aggression. And again, we need to bring back again the responsibility to the Congolese government, because
Yes.
we also have to say the truth. What the Congolese government, when they say in their rhetoric, is only used by Rwanda to say that they are being threatened. Again, these are all the components that we need to take into consideration, because we cannot lie that the Congolese government has openly said they want to. But again, this is just a justification that again Rwanda is using for their real reason, which is to actually to exploit the resources from the Congo, and to continue this genocide for economic benefits. So definitely we need to be exposing these lies, because at some point they become like.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. And one thing that I also wanted us to kind of like share before transitioning to the next segments real quick. What can you tell us about the 6 Day War and the war in Kisangani? And I mentioned that the Ugandan government has been sentenced to pay $300 million to the Congo's government, and that was reduced by the current regime. It was I think it was set to $1 billion, and then it was negotiated down, and a lot of shady deals. But essentially, I'm not going to dive into much into that. But what can you tell us about the 6 Day War in Kisangani?
I think what can be said about the 6 Day War, first of all, it highlights. Just want to highlight that the main aggressor and imperialist puppet in the region is Rwanda and Uganda. And again, because of some of the weakness of our movement, we have been putting more pressure on Rwanda. But Uganda is always there, and the Congolese government knows that, but they keep doing deals with Uganda. But what we know from the from the second Congo War, when Uganda was funding militia groups in the Congo, like the MLC, and when Rwanda will be funding other groups in the Congo, like the RTD, and also having boots on the ground. And because this all these countries had their own benefits, had their own interests into getting different access to different minerals in the Congo, those two armies clashed in Kisangani. So here you're seeing these two countries which supported the Laurent Desire Kabila to overthrow Mobutu. So they worked in tandem to overthrow a government in the Congo. Now that there is beef, they're showing their real faces, which is to everyone want to get the biggest slice of the pie. Everyone want to get his piece, and those two army clashes for 6 days in Kisangani, causing tremendous atrocity to the people. Until this day, there are survivors from the 6 Day War who are still reclaiming justice. And for the 6 Day War is also a very particular development in the, again, as we fight for justice about the Congo, because the case was brought to the I think to the International Court of Justice, and the ruling was in favor of the Congo. And again, this was I want to highlight one of the limitation was that Rwanda was not brought into this case because it was a 6-day war confronting Rwanda and Uganda. Why Rwanda was not brought into the but the ruling was in favor of the Congo, which asked Uganda to pay reparation to the Congolese government. And as brother Gaetan was just mentioning, it went down on a lot of reduction. And finally, I think the days is escaping my mind, but the payment was given to the DRC, and then the Congolese government made the sham display and spectacle in Kisangani last year, giving a couple of hundred of thousands, couple of $100, I think, to some of the survivor that would handpick, and the rest of the money was embezzled, of course. So even in this period, and why we still do commemorate the 6-day war, to remind that justice is still missing for the Congolese people, that the true the true perpetrator of these crimes must be held accountable. Uganda to fully pay first the reparation, but also Rwanda must also be brought for justice, not to in front of justice, not only for the crimes in the 6-day war, for even the ongoing atrocities that are still going on in the Congo. So that's why this period of the 6-day war is exactly that moment, not only to commemorate the people who have lost their lives, the communities that were affected by this conflict and still suffer until day, and to give also the voices to the survivor who still carry the injuries and the traumas from the 6-day war, but as well as to remind people that the issue is, again, this lack of justice that is really
Yeah.
missing.
I'm
Uh,
gonna play this video, and thank you so much for the background. And I'm gonna play this video before we move on. Very interesting and moving video regarding the 6-day war that we are commemorating. And again, it's something that we still haven't seen people jail because of that, because of what they perpetrated, and even the money that are being used or being paid to the Congolese government are being embezzled and siphoned in a way that's to me is really incredible. Like they have to pay $300 million as a damage and stuff. But at the same time, the Congo is also signing another contract with the same Ugandan government, and particularly uh, a company that has tie with the president of Uganda to construct roads, and the price tag is the exact same amount. So I'm like, what are we doing, right? Anyways, I'm gonna play this about the 6-day wars only in minutes. Oh, that's not. Hold on. Okay, let's do.
June 2000. Over 6 bloody days in June 2000, the Congolese city of Kisangani was the scene of deadly violence between the Ugandan and Rwandan armies. 2 decades later, a group of survivors embark on a long and treacherous journey for justice downstream to Kinshasa. The award-winning film from director Diudo Hamadi captures quiet, uncomfortable, and powerful moments as the group travels the Congo River to demand overdue acknowledgement and reparations for war crimes that altered their lives. In documenting the journey, Hamadi incorporates riveting performances of the survivors as they reclaim their power through creativity and theater. Downstream to Kinshasa on Afropop.
Yeah, I think that was kind of like a synopsis of that 6-day war, and the type of justice that organization like Congolese Action Youth Platform and Friends of the Congo have been literally trying to push, because we need to have justice. We need to have reparation for the victims, right? Like we cannot continue this ongoing cycle of violence, of of um, of folks being killed and nothing being said about it. And that's why I really commend every single time folks that are um, pushing for that justice, right? That we have said that is being absent right now. So um, we were supposed to touch on the World Bank, um, but unfortunately, the person that I was going to have on is in Qatar right now, and he just couldn't make it. But I think he sent me like maybe a video that we could watch to kind of like understand what's going on regarding the Inga Dam and why it's a big deal. And to me, it's mostly to talk about the money that is being invested and how that investment looked like in the past, right? So let me see if I can show that. Because again, as a reminder, the World Bank Board of Executive Directors approved on June 3rd a $250 million from International Development Association as the first phase of a $1 billion INGA 3 development program. So this long-term program is a multi-phase approach that will help the Democratic Republic of the Congo lay the foundations for the sustainable development of INGA. 3, the DRC's largest power projects to date, starting with investment in local people, infrastructure, and job. Um, so let me just play this. Okay.
Is the most powerful river in Africa and the second largest in the world by discharge. The Congo River is the most powerful river in Africa and the second largest in the world by discharge volume, second only to the Amazon, pouring an average of 42,000 cubic meters of water into the ocean every second. It is also the deepest river in the world, sinking 220 meters at certain points, and the ninth longest, stretching 4,700 kilometers across the Democratic Republic of Congo. Unsurprisingly, the river has enormous hydropower potential. It is estimated a total of 100 gigawatts of hydro capacity could be installed along the river. And of this potential, 40% comes from a single site. 220 kilometers southwest of Kinshasa, the DRC's capital and the second most populous city in Africa, lies a stunning natural feature. Over the course of 14 kilometers, the Congo River rapidly falls 96 meters in elevation, producing the world's single largest and most powerful rapid, Inga Falls. Every second, 40 gigajoules of mechanical energy pass through it, enough to power roughly 30 million American homes. The potential of this impressive feature has been recognized for decades. In the 1950s, Belgian colonizers realized the site's potential for hydropower, and in 1957, the Belgian cabinet approved construction of a series of power stations along the rapid. Still though, funding was an issue pushing back construction. Then, on June 30th, 1960, Congo won its independence, and the Belgian plans were dropped. However, the new Congolese government did not completely abandon the idea. And when Mobutu Sese Seko seized control over the country in 1965, he quickly advanced the plans. In 1968, construction started on Inga 1, a 351 megawatt hydroelectric power station just west of Inga Falls. Not long after its completion in 1972, construction commenced on Inga 2, a second phase 1.4 gigawatt station just 1 kilometer south of the first one. These two stations were landmark projects for the DRC, powering local population centers in the country's mining industry. Still though, they only harvested 4% of Inga Falls' power.
Why can't I make any changes without an admin approval? Why?
With Monday.com's intuitive work management platform, you have the power, not IT.
To harvest all of Inga Falls' immense hydroelectric potential, engineers have proposed an enormous project called the Grand Inga Dam. This project would involve the construction of a dam a few kilometers north of Inga Falls to reroute water into the Bundy River Valley. Several smaller dams would be built along this valley, trapping water in to form a roughly 40 square kilometer reservoir. At the southern end of this reservoir would be a lock for ships, along with an enormous 200-meter tall dam. Along this dam, a series of 6 hydroelectric power stations would funnel water through 52 turbines and back into the Congo River, generating a combined 40 gigawatts of power. This would make it the largest hydroelectric power station in the world, almost double the size of the current largest, the enormous Three Gorges Dam in China. The construction of this complex would be completed over the course of several phases. It would take over a decade to complete and would cost an estimated $80 billion. If built, the Grand Inga Dam would provide numerous benefits for the region. First of all, it would single-handedly double Africa's installed hydropower capacity from 38 to 78 gigawatts. And with an estimated generation cost of only 3 cents per kilowatt hour, the project would serve as a cheap source of green energy, fueling economic development and increasing the standard of living for people all across the Congo and neighboring countries. In addition, its construction would generate tens of thousands of new jobs, invigorating the national economy. Furthermore, the project, which would require international collaboration, would help promote peace and cooperation throughout the region. Lastly, the Grand Inga Dam would have a relatively small environmental impact. While its reservoir would flood a 40 square kilometer area and displace thousands of people, this is tiny relative to its power capacity. For comparison, to produce its 22.5 gigawatts of power, the Three Gorges Dam flooded over 630 square kilometers, displacing 1.3 million people. Grand Inga's small reservoir would mean flooding less forest area and displacing less people than similar projects. This, combined with its ability to provide millions of people with uninterrupted green energy, would make it a profound environmental success. Despite the Grand Inga Dam's potential to provide an immense amount of cheap green energy for Africa, it does come with its issues. First of all, $80 billion is an immense fee, especially for a country like the Congo. Collecting it would require loans from numerous international banks and organizations. In addition, with so much money being poured into one of the most corrupt nations in the world, it is feared that significant portions of money would be redirected into the pockets of politicians and other individuals with power. Most importantly, though, the demand is not really there. The Congo's power grid is dreadfully small. While it has a population of over 90 million people, only 1 in 5 have access to electricity. And for the people that do, much of their demand is already accounted for by the 2.6 gigawatts of installed capacity, much of which is deteriorating and needs restoration. Inga 1 and 2, which have fallen into disrepair due to neglect, are not even operating at full capacity and are in need of rehabilitation. Right now, building a gigantic 40 gigawatt power plant would be completely unnecessary and would not fix any of the Congo's infrastructure or demand issues. In response to this, advocates have suggested exporting the excess energy to neighboring countries and potentially even Europe. However, this would require a regional power grid that just doesn't exist right now, and building it would cost billions of dollars more. Because of all this, currently, constructing the entire Grand Inga Dam complex is not very logical. Despite the Grand Inga Dam being impractical, a smaller project could make sense. In the early 2000s, an expansion to the current Inga 1 and 2 dams was proposed and discussed widely. Then, in 2014, the World Bank approved a $73 million grant for Inga 3, a third-phase expansion to the existing dams that would consist of a hydropower station 2 kilometers east of Inga 2 that would generate 4.8 gigawatts. 2.5 of this would be exported to South Africa, 1.3 would be used for Congo's mining industry, and the rest would help provide power to 7 million people around Kinshasa. However, after disagreements with the Congolese government, in 2016 the World Bank suspended its funding for the project. Since then, Congo has tried working with numerous private companies to get the projects off the ground, including the Spanish ACS Group, the Australian mining company Fortescue, and Chinese developers. Still though, no permanent deals have been struck. Over the coming years, though, as demand increases, it is very likely that an Inga 3 project will come to fruition. It, along with successive expansions, could be extremely beneficial for the region, serving as a source of green energy to power the African continent. And eventually, the larger Grand Inga Dam complex could be realized, harnessing the entirety of Inga Fall's immense natural power. If you enjoyed this video, it would be amazing if you like and subscribe.
All right, so that was a long video, but I think it was very, very, very informative. What did you think of it?
Yes. Definitely. It shows again the potential of DRC to solve the world's problem in terms of energy, in terms of green energy, and all the capacity of the Congo. And as the video was saying, already in the 60s, people were talking about this. Already in Kwame Nkrumah,
Yeah.
talking about the African head of nation was saying, like, yeah, we are talking about the country which has the power, the hydroelectrical power to give electricity to Africa, access to Europe, access to the Middle East. So why don't we unite now? But it just again highlight that those resources that the Congo has, but it also highlighted we need also even maintenance for already like existing projects, and that we need a strong Congolese government, a legitimate Congolese government by the people, and which will serve the interests of the Congolese people, who can actually harness that resources for the Congolese people, as well also for other African country. So definitely that's one of the things that that this video highlighted. That's tremendous potential that the DRC has, and why we need to we need to
Yeah.
defeat Congo. We need to escape
Yes.
Congo, because those kind of projects can only occur when there is a stable Congo, when there is justice for Congolese people, and when there is a strong
Absolutely.
Congolese government that understands the sovereignty of our resources and which can harness it for the Congolese people. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I need to give credit to the author of the video is Futurology on YouTube. If you can, go ahead and watch it. And that was published 2 years ago, right? Talking about the $80 billion needed to do this project, right? And the information that we have from the World Bank today, as of June 3rd, actually, that they approved 250 million out of $1 billion, which seems like absolutely nothing out of the 80 billion that are needed, right? But you said something very interesting, brother Bukongo. You said that a project like this, for a project like this to happen, it needs a free and stable Congo, right? Because there is, and I was mentioning in the video, the fear that this money will be siphoned, right? And honestly, it is not even the first time that we talking about embezzlement when it comes to foreign aid. And the reason why I'm saying that, there is this report from 2020 from the World Bank itself, right? That's an almost 5 years old. It is a 5 years old report, and it's called the early capture of foreign aid: evidence from offshore bank accounts. This particular Brother Bukongo report from the World Bank themselves was fought in a terms in a sense that this report was not supposed to be published in the first place, because this report says that the money that the international community gathered within this Bretton Woods institution, the World Bank, give to countries that they know are corrupt, that they know are going to siphon the money and use it for something else. They are aware of that information, and they're still giving them the money. Can you imagine? And I was, if you go into the list of the countries, because let me see if I can find it. Is it this one? The list of countries and how much they receive in terms of aid. Maybe it's not that one. Hold on. I need to find it. And there is a number for Congo, which I think was like between a certain period of time. You had at least, maybe I can just search it. Zaire, maybe Congo. There you go. I think it's this one. And it was during like I think 1997, I believe, all the way to 2010. Excuse me. Um, that they have provided up like a lot of money to this country, and they've noticed that from the money that the World Bank gave to the DRC, and we know who has been the president ever since. We had Mobutu, we had Laurent Desire Kabila, and we had Joseph Kabila during that period of time, right? And they noticed that the money they received was coinciding with $910 million that was deposited into an account somewhere at the same time, at the very same time, right? So to me, that's kind of crazy, and it also really speaks on really the motive behind institution like the World Bank giving money that they know that the country will not be able to pay back because of the policies, because of the governance, that they know that it is a debt that I'm giving to this country, knowing that they are not going to be able to pay me back. Yet the interest is going to increase, right? Yet they're going to continue to uh they're going to continue to you know, having to pay interest. They're going to continue to beg for money. Then at that point, that very money becomes a tool, right? For what's the term I'm looking for? A tool to pressure governments. And that's not even me saying that. I think it's Secretary Rubio who said recently that the aid that they give, and I was speaking specifically about the US, right? That the aid that they give to people is a way to advance US national interest. And that's actually perfectly fine, right? Because the interest, when the US decides to give money as aid to a country, it is to advance their interests, is to have that leverage. Well, I gave you $1 billion. Like, can you give me something in return? What is that? Or give me a contract, right? So it's very important to have this type of reports, and that's a report from 2020. 2020, $910 million deposited. That's, to me, that's insane. And if you can think, that's, we are almost close to $1 billion already, right? And that's only from I think it was 1997 all the way to 2010 that they were able to like take into account, like gather the data and then look what is being done with the money they are serving people. So I do have concern when I know the current governments of the Congo and Bukongo. You mentioned that when we have the former Minister of Finance of the Congo, he said it himself. He said it in Lingala that usually that I don't even know how to say that in English, that there are jouisseurs. How would you say it, jouisseurs? That there are that just like to have fun, that just like to party. You're on mute, by the way. You're mute.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. What's
practice
what
of
even say that in English? Jouisseurs.
yeah,
Do they like to
enjoy your
party?
like
They have, huh?
yeah. I
What did
think
you
they're
say?
just party lovers and they just don't care about anything else but
They don't
enjoy.
care about getting the work done. They get, and he says that in Lingala, which is one of the four national languages in the Congo. He said that when they get the money, they're gonna share among themselves first, and they're gonna figure out how to implement that project. I'm literally not lying, and I wish I can play this. People who speak Lingala will be able to understand, and I'm just gonna translate that because that's exactly what has been happening. Projects are being financed, and nothing. those projects never get done because the governments end up siphoning the money, all of it, if not saying most of it. Let me just play this. This is the former Minister of Finance. He was literally cited in embezzlement, and obviously the president came forward and said that there was absolutely no way that he did that. He's a father, and he's a husband, he's a father, he's ethical, so a way to defend him. But you have the guy on TV saying that when they have money for project, they just share and they're gonna think about it later.
Mon projet est tout cabolinan to réfléchir après. C'est ça le problème. Mon projet est tout cabolinan to réfléchir après.
This is sad. This is absolutely sad. So when I see this, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, brother Bukongo. What I see when I see this and the money that are being given to the Congolese people, right? I am I'm afraid that the Congo is gonna end up with million of dollars, hundreds of million of dollars, if not billion of dollars in debt because that money was given to a government that is more committed into corruption, into investment and enriching themselves, but than actually improving the lives of the Congolese people. What do you think?
Yeah, and what you say, how those institutions like the World Bank knows very clearly that this government don't have a solid transparency, but they still give them their money, which shows again that they are literally betting in the sense that whether it is with this government or the next one, which is gonna have to face those debts, the imperialists and those institutions are gonna still benefit a lot from the Congo, and it's really heartbreaking, as you said, when you hear about all these big projects, all this potential that the DRC have, but just with people who not only they don't have the competence and the actual skills for the jobs that they have, the ministry that they have, but also they just don't have the moral and ethical standard that you were mentioning to carry out the job and to do the good work. And we can see them talking it. And what is even heartbreaking and just going a little on the tangent is that they can go live on TV and say about that openly with no fear and without any retribution, because the guy actually got a lawsuit, but it was not because of the embezzlement. The lawsuit was for something else, to show again this lack of justice, not only for Congolese people, but even the justice within Congo itself, because of the neo-colonial government that is there. This type of neo-colonial government that Frantz Fanon was already talking about, of these people who do not understand, do not even operate like an actual bourgeoisie, in the sense that they actually do the work to get their money. They actually exploit, they do the work and invest in the country to exploit. They don't even have that intelligence to take even the money that they steal to invest that into the country so that they can get more money. They don't even understand that basic line. What they have, as you say, and as also as Frantz Fanon was saying, they just want to enjoy the luxury and the benefits and the privilege for a bourgeoisie class without actually putting the work into it. And siphon all that money and those resources that those institutions like the World Bank will put into this project. And that's when you will find that a big project like the Grand Inga will not going to even be started because of those embezzlements, and current projects of so many other projects like those the other dams that needs rehabilitation, ports and roads that need rehabilitation. They don't even get that rehabilitation because all that money is going into the pocket of this country, which then what is also even funny is then those money is gonna be put into offshore bank account, which can easily be frozen by any of the imperialist country whenever they decide. That's what we see.
Exactly.
How France is able to frozen some of the assets from, I think, Guinea, Equatorial Guinea's officials, and they just keep the money. So you can even see that in the end, the money is not even coming back even to in the hand of those neo-colonial puppets. We should, again, remind us that again, as the Congolese government has a huge responsibility. Like we need to establish, we need to have Congolese a legitimate and stable Congolese government that is actually able to take the resources of the country and put that in the hands of the people, and actually, and serve the interests of the people, not individual interests. Just like we're seeing in the AES, and or as we have seen in other Pan-African country, exactly, and not a government that will took those resources, all those billions-dollar, with no shame in a country where, more as the World Bank, I think the World Bank report, this say that more than 60% of the population live with less than $2 a day, and people who under occupation don't have even that. So, but these people have this audacity to embezzle such a large amount of money, and still get away with it. So definitely, as we need that just and
and this paper, Brother Bukongo, I encourage you, I encourage all of y'all, watching this, to go ahead. It's free. Just type it, Elites Capture Foreign Aid World Bank. You can download the report and read it. It's to me, I'm not surprised that there is embezzlement in Congo, or there is embezzlement in other countries, either in Southeast Asia, or even in Europe, or like Ukraine, or somewhere in Africa. I'm not surprised of that, right? What surprises me, one, is that they know that this will happen and they still send the money. It's like giving a credit card to a 10 years old, kid. You give them a credit card with the limits of like $10,000. You give it to a 10 years old kid. Have fun with it, right? To me, that's essentially what's happening. And then those leaders are gonna plant the country they lead, and the people they're supposed to lead, into debt while they get rich. And the abstract is very interesting. It says, "Do elites capture foreign aid? These paper documents that aid disbursement to highly aid dependent countries coincide with sharp increases in bank deposit in offshore financial centers known for bank secrecy and private wealth management, but not in other financial centers. The estimates are not confounded by contemporaneous shocks such as civil conflicts, natural disaster, and financial crisis, and are robust to instrumenting with predetermined aid commitment. The implied leakage rate is around 7.5% at the sample mean, and tend to increase with the ratio of aids to GDP. The findings are consistent with aid capture in the most aid dependent countries. And something to also point out, right? Because I mentioned that this report was never supposed to be published, that internally they blocked it. And they blocked this report, and then it was leaked. Just like we have been saying that the mapping report on the DRC was leaked in August before being published in October. This report was leaked, and it was actually, when it was published, this one that we now have was changed. They changed a lot of things, and because of how internally the World Bank tried to stop it, the president of the World Bank at the time, who was a U.S. citizen, because the way the Bretton Woods institution works, the IMF is always led by Europeans, and the World Bank always led by the United Nations, by the United States. But both institutions' headquarters are in the U.S., in Washington D.C. So the president of the World Bank had to resign, because why would you block this? So then that shows really the complicity, and that's also something that I talk about in one of my papers that I published for Pamanzuka News. When I talk about the Congo, it's literally in the light of the struggle, and the title is from Lumumba to today's Congo struggle for dignity and decolonization. And this is, you can go ahead and read what I wrote, and I speak about something similar, which is another way of the international community and those institutions to literally being the reason why Congolese people are suffering. Because the report from the Center for Research in Public Finance and Local Development revealed that the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, received over $70 million from the Congolese government to deliver infrastructure in Kasai Central. The result? 0% delivery. Not a single clinic, roads, or school was built. The report identified layers of bureaucratic dysfunctions, convoluted approval chains, no local ownership, and no accountability. It wasn't just inefficiency, it was a neo-colonial development theater, a performance stage to secure funding and maintain control, not to empower communities. Decolonization demand we stop mistaking this for help. And that report, unfortunately, is in French, and they only do that in French. But it is page 78, page 7. It is from, it's called Rapport Monitoring Citoyen, $670 million from the IMF, Opportunity for Development, or illicit in illicit enrichissement in English. What is it?
Enrichment.
Yeah. So I think I'm getting tired. So these are the things that we see in African nations, and as Pan-African, as friends of the Congo, as those who stands for justice, right? We need to always ask ourselves, when we get money from those countries, why are they giving money to corrupt government? Why can they invest directly into the people? And that's essentially what we are doing within France of the Congo, because we work directly with the families, we work directly with the people, right? And maybe probably we're gonna end on this note, and I'm gonna give you the floor, Bukongo, in terms of like what needs to happen for Congo to be free, and what we are asking folks to do in terms of supporting not just the effort the Friends of the Congo is doing, or not just the effort of those many other organizations doing either, if not the same work that we're doing, or even more, right? Pansy Foundation with the Pansy Hospital, the immense and incredible work that they've been doing in the Congo for Congolese people, for Congolese women, led and created by the Nobel Peace Prize 2018 Nobel Peace Prize Dr. Mukwege, or you know the Congolese Action Youth Platform, Congolese Action Youth Platform, and the Genocast, campaigning so that we can honor, remember, and also actively work toward peace and toward justice, knowing that for justice to happen, we need to remember, and we need to remember and say the truth about what happened during the 6 Day War. Say the truth about what happened when there is people who take weapons. So, Brother Bukongo, probably leave it to you, and then we're gonna close out about what to do, what needs to happen for Congo to be free.
Definitely, what needs to happen is must go on two fronts. First, a Congolese front and an international front. That international front has, of course, two sides. There is the African front and the broader international front. The broader international front definitely is what we have discussed it earlier, and that's what I encourage people to do, to keep exposing Rwanda, exposing what Rwanda is doing in the Congo, to keep uplifting the voices of Congolese organizers and local Congolese people who are bringing the light and the truth about the situation in the Congo, but also putting the pressure for those imperialist government that still benefit from Congolese minerals, and those companies like Tesla, Apple, Microsoft that keep benefiting from this dirty this blood exploitation of Congolese people. That definitely is the pressure that must come from international people in the diaspora, and also other friends of the Congos who are abroad, but also an African front. That African front, again, as I have to say, the SADC did an amazing job, but more work must be done for all other African another African country to always keep connecting to the Congo. And that's why also even a call that I give to comrades who do work around the AES to keep connecting also that struggle to the Congo, because the same the same issue with those proxy forces. I think President of Niger, General Chani, is just connecting clearly that these forces there are proxy forces, just like the M23 are proxy forces by imperialist country, and be able to keep making the connection to the Congo so that we can also have a strong solidarity on an African side and a Pan-African solidarity, which is going to isolate Rwanda, which is going to isolate Uganda, and all those neocolonialist puppets, which will have to understand that no African country should be developed and should even claim any development while it is exploiting and causing the killing of African brothers, sisters, and siblings. That shouldn't be the model of development for any African. And of course, the most important front, and again here I'm with the inspiration from Walter Rodney Wood says again, the most important front in the case of the Congo should be Congolese people, because who have to put pressure and to keep organizing. We need to organize so that we can finally have a legitimate Congolese government, a Congolese state, which gonna put the power and which gonna use the resources of the country into the hand of the people, which will finally be able to hold accountable all those criminals who now running into office, who's gonna be able to give justice to all the people who have to go through all this atrocity, and a Congolese government which will finally have a voice and will be able to implement all the decisions that's going to be decided on the international level, on the African level. So this is the blueprints to to have a free Congo, and most and above all, and all of that happen through organization, supporting organization like the Friends of the Congo, the Congolese Youth Action Youth Platform, and all lot of other Congolese organization, or even Pan-African organization, to join those organizations which keep doing work for around the Congo. And yeah, and it's a long struggle, but again, yeah, in organization we always say also, yeah, the struggle is long, but we are committed to continue fighting until victory, because yeah, we will win. Congo will be free, and Africa will be united. And free.
Yeah. Yes, and thank you so much for that. It was really beautiful put, and I always say that it took, and I give that as an example, right? Like it took, well, Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison before coming out in 1994 and becoming the very first black president of South Africa, right? It took him more than 30 years, and he spent 27 years in jail for him to dream of a South Africa free of apartheid, right? And it took years and years, and people are still fighting right now for Palestine to be free. It took years of them, and they are still fighting. And who are we as Congolese to think that our struggle for liberty, our struggle for freedom will be easy and will be quick and will be fast? It will take time. It will take organizing effort, and we need to organize. And we need to organize so that we can continue to amplify what's going on, amplify the voices of the Congo from the front line, right? Continue to amplify the voices of you, Congo, right? When you speak about the Congo, when you speak about what's going on in your hometown, Bukavu, where you're from, like there is a need collectively to amplify your voice, and that takes time, and that takes organizing effort. That takes a collective realization that there are challenges in the Congo that came from somewhere, that are being fueled by some people. And we need to be able to tell the truth, to call them out and seek for justice. So, yes, it will take time, but I do believe that it is going to be during our timeline that the very same Congo that we're talking about will be free one day. So Bukongo, thank you so much for your time and coming and help us break down the situation in Congo. Tell us about your perspective and also your story about Bukavu, what's going on there, and the different news that we talked about. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Brother Gaitan. Really appreciate. And if people want to read more from my organization, they can go on the website, My on the Revolutionary Journey, or on Instagram at My on a Revolution. And yeah, so we can keep doing the work and uplifting Congolese voice and Pan-African, revolutionary Pan-African perspective. Yeah. Thank you very much, Brother
Yeah.
Gaitan.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And yeah, that was Bukongo. Thank you so much, brother. One of the coordinators at Friends of the Congo. And to you all watching this, thank you so much for being tuned in, for watching us, for learning with us, because it is a process, understanding the conflict, and most importantly, know your part. You need to play your part and know what you need to do, whether it is amplifying, sharing, donating, writing to a member of Congress, protesting, whatever you do something and make sure that what you do is advancing the movement of a free Congo, because a free Congo is a free Africa, and a free Africa is a free and liberated Black nation. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next Friday with a new episode, a segment of Congo Unfiltered News, Powers, and Politics. Peace out.